Ready. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the Crow Wing County regular board meeting together on 7/9 of 24. Please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the time for open forum. Anybody who is not on the agenda for an item that's not on the agenda, please have a form given to Therese, if you haven't already. I have one here from John Ward. You may please approach. State your name and address for the record, sir.
John Ward, 11442 Forest View Drive, Baxter, Minnesota. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, staff, citizens, I'm also on the school board, and I'm here today speaking about the school property, school farm property that we and Gary and other folks have been working on. We had a school board meeting last night. I want to be clear that I'm not here in an official capacity, but I do speak for all of my colleagues on the school board. First of all, just thank you for your years of collaboration in the school farm property as we've leased that land for a number of years at $1 a year. And we so much appreciate working, the county working with the school board on that site. And when we had the school farm up there, it was a very, very valuable asset to us, which it continues to be. So thank you very much for long-term engagement and collaboration with the school board. On the sale of the property, some of you may know that, and thank you for the proposal also, very fair and equitable proposal to us to buy the 80 acres. Some of you know that I motioned to approve that, and it died for a lack of second. Why did it die for a lack of second? Basically, it's because of finances. The school district has about a $3 million shortfall right now, which is significant. We all know that. We're going to address it. We're going to work hard to make sure that we continue to provide the education to our students in this district that is quality and the best opportunities that we can provide. So it really was for the whole 80 acres. It is a stretch for the 290,000 plus to buy that. We talked at length about trying to split, having two 40-acre parcels, and we would really like to just buy one 40 parcel that the buildings are on, that our equipment is stored there and things as such. And that's why I'm talking to you today, is to present that we would really like to engage with you on potential purchase of the 140 parcel, and then the other 40, I don't know if you put it up for auction or you put it out for sale or whatever, but if with us, with the school district, obviously, you wouldn't gain any tax revenue because of that, but with the other 40, if you put it out for auction or sale or whatever, you would gain some tax revenue from that. And so we see it as a win-win kind of situation, and we again so much appreciate the collaboration and the help that you've given us over the years, and hope to continue working with the county on coming up to a resolution on this issue. Again, we are, and I can speak for all my colleagues, we would be very, very hopeful and engaged in pursuing the 40 that the buildings are on and that the equipment is on. Any board member and our new superintendent, interim superintendent Peter Grant, would welcome any questions or concerns, and we also would encourage engagement together. Maybe having a collaborative meeting together to try to finalize this. We would be able to perhaps close as soon as possible on this purchase of the 40 acres if possible. So with that, I think I'm inside my 3 minutes. So can I just kind of, no, never mind. That's okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Normally, I know that we use, this is just like a listening session, but sometimes we do respond, and I think it's important that the county respond to Director Ward's comments. I think just to let the school board know where we're coming from, and I think our county administrator is prepared to give a little feedback.
Mr.
Would
Chair,
that be
if I may?
okay?
Yeah, you may.
Mr. Ward, if you recall, this lease expired on December 31st of 2022. So we've been working through this process for the last 18 months. 18 months that the discussion at the time that the lease expired was give us a little bit of time to figure out how to make the sale happen and finish it off and get it completed before the term would have been expired for too long. 18 months, and now we're still sitting at a point where there's conversation about wanting to change the direction of what the offer was initially. Part of why we're looking at selling this as a 40-acre parcel is we've taken a plan, an 80-acre parcel, is that we've taken a position as a county to divest ourselves of these large tracts of tax forfeited property that are contiguous to each other. We're looking at wanting to sell them as one unit so that we don't run into issues with access on the other 40 remainder parcel that could be there. Not that there is currently anything that we are aware of from an access issue, but it's more beneficial, it's more attractive if we are selling it as a full 80-acre parcel. One of the other things to keep in mind is that once we sell it to the school district or to whomever, they can choose to develop it however they wish to do so. The school could choose to sell the other 40 if they don't have need for what that parcel is. We were basically giving them the first right of refusal. We were giving them the first option to purchase the property at the assessed value. And while we're talking about a total value sale price that we were originally looking at of around $290,000, that 40-acre tract is only about $135,000. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a large dollar amount that is being looked at for just that one parcel. The other thing that we are currently undergoing an initiative of is some consolidation of all of our properties. Land Services has started a process where they're looking to consolidate tracts and ownership, contiguous ownership, instead of having the methodology of nothing bigger than a 40-acre parcel in Crow Wing County. We're looking at it through more of an ownership concept. And by the end of this year, that two pieces will become one piece of property through our process that we are currently looking at. There are a couple of reasons that I think we want to continue to work through this process as quickly as we can, but the fact that it's taken us 18 months to even get to a point where we're saying, oh, well, we didn't like the first offer, so can we make up something different? At some point, we're going to have to decide what to move forward with. And our original plan was to sell the 80 acres. The 80 acres was what was offered to the school district for their first right of refusal or for them to purchase since they are using it. We don't want to go through the process of having to have the property removed from, the buildings removed from the property, or to go through the effort of trying to have to sell the property as is after the buildings have been removed. We would like to sell it to the school district. We would like to work through that partnership. As Mr. Ward said, years of collaboration and cooperation on this lease, on this parcel, on this property. And we would like to continue to finalize what that process looked like. I don't know if the board has appetite for us to look at separating this out by two different parcels, to look through that process, basically starting this process over from where we originally started 18 months ago. Where did 22 come from? 18 months ago when we started this process. We can change course if that's what you would like, but it's just delaying and delaying even further where we're finding a resolution on this issue.
I have a few questions, but I don't know if this is a time and place for it. Is there anything else that we can do as far as, if they don't have the money to do it, is there anything we can do as far as terms that would make them be able to buy that, and that's just one question that pops in my head. I don't know if this is the venue to do that, or if it should be a smaller group sitting down with some people at the school board and discussing that.
I don't think the county board table, Mr. Chair, is where you want to get into the negotiations of what you're looking
Right,
at.
yeah.
That's why we've had staff working on this for the past year and a half. That was part of what this whole conversation was to try to figure out where that was at.
Other board members have any comment?
I will agree with the idea that we should not be discussing it here today. We've heard the proposal or the request from the school district. We've heard the input from the administrator, and I think that if we want to talk more about this, it should be at one of our other meetings, but not at this particular meeting.
If there is appetite from the board for us to consider option other than selling the full 80 acres, we can have staff look at that, continue to work through those conversations with the school district, and come back with a further proposal at a later date.
Can we talk, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Can we talk about this at Budget Committee on Thursday, or
We could.
then we could have a full-throat?
We could put it as an
conversation.
additional business item on the budget committee.
That would make,
That work?
yeah,
Okay.
this is really not the place for it here.
No.
This is, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else for open forum today for the first 3 minutes? Do you have anything else, Therese?
No, there's two people that are on Teams, but they're not raising their hands, so.
Okay. Then we'll close open forum. We'll go on to review and approval of minutes. It looks like we have 2 sets to approve.
Mr. Chair, if there's no questions, I would make a motion to approve both sets of meeting minutes with my motion.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing, why do I have it this way? Signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. I'm reading my notes, so.
Well, you wrote them.
Huh?
You wrote them.
I didn't write them. Okay, review and approve the agenda.
No
make that
changes or corrections.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consent agenda. Anything to add on to that or discuss on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Okay.
Motion made by Barrows, second by Franzine. All in favor signify.
I'm sorry, correction. Commissioner Coring made the motion.
Who would you like to second? It was at the same
Second was
time.
Barrows.
Okay.
Too many days off, I think. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Public hearing. This is time, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would so move to open the public hearing to amend the Crow Wing County fee schedule.
Second.
Do we do that as a full motion too? Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Who's, Jessica?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Land Services would like to enhance our service to our residents out at our Crow Wing County Recycling Center by accepting fluorescent light bulbs. Currently, we do not accept them for disposal out there. And we are proposing to accept them at a rate of $1 per intact bulb and $2 per broken bulb. It is just a little higher disposal cost if they're broken because they are charged per pound. And I open it to any questions.
Anybody from the public need to speak?
Oh, yeah. Is there anybody from the public that needs to speak to that item? Do I have to say that 3 times? Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak to this? Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak to this? Hearing none?
Mr. Chair, I would move to close the public hearing on the Crow Wing County fee schedule.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, I would move under 6.2, I would move the resolution to amend the Land Services 2024 fee schedule.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now we're on to the Crow Wing County Soil and Water Conservation District report.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you. Melissa Barrick, Crow Wing Soil and Water Conservation District District Manager, and then I also have Joanne Weaver as one of our supervisors. And I just wanted to chat a little bit about some of the things that we did last year to partner with the county. Before I do that, I just want to quickly talk about what a Soil and Water Conservation District is. So we are a local government unit under 103C statute and Minnesota statute, and we're a local government unit without taxing authority, so we work in partnership with counties and the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and then the state agency, Board of Water and Soil Resources. We're not alone. There's 88 soil and water conservation districts throughout the state of Minnesota. And one of our main goals that we try to focus on is working with private lands. So if you look at the state of Minnesota, 78% of the land is held in private ownership. So we do have, different state agencies that work with the public lands, similar to your land department that works with the public lands. And our goal is to really focus on those private lands, working with those landowners to maintain clean water and healthy soil. So I'm not going to go through this entire report, but I did want to highlight a few things.
It's not going to go. It's a PDF, not a
Okay,
PowerPoint.
perfect. If you can go to page 3, I think it is. Yep. So this is just kind of showing a little snapshot of the different funding that we brought into the county through the last year, and then also some of the funding that the county provided back to the Soil and Water Conservation District. And so our office is in Land Services, in the level, I think it's level 1. I always get confused by the levels, but we're very grateful for the office support that we get, as well as the IT and the technology support we get through the county. Some of the other things that the county has provided back to the Soil and Water Conservation District is we worked with Jory with the Crow Wing County Highway Department last year, and we monitored some of the lakes next to highways that they were interested for chloride levels. Chloride is basically salt, so we can better determine how much salt is going into the lakes from potentially all sources, obviously, but salt is usually the #1 source from actual snowplows. Then we also worked with Crow Wing County to implement the 30 Lakes Watershed District monitoring program. When the 30 Lakes Watershed District was dissolved or completed, one of the things that was still out there is to continue to support those lakes in monitoring those lakes, and so we coordinate that program. And then we also work with Land Services through a fee-for-service program. So the total that the county provided to the Soil and Water Conservation District was $73,000. And then you can see the local funds are funds that other people put towards conservation projects. And then the state funds are just funds that the SWCD has leveraged specifically towards conservation. This doesn't include all of the county programs, the county grants that Gary's team works on as well. So that's just a brief overview. And then if you want to go to page 16, this kind of highlights the different things that we worked with the county. Back in 2013, Crow Wing County completed their water plan, and so these different items all are helping implement that comprehensive county water plan. So one of the things that we worked with with Crow Wing County is we developed 3 YouTube videos to help landowners or residents of Crow Wing County to implement their stormwater management plan through the ordinance process. So we worked with the county and created 3 YouTube videos that kind of go through the different processes. One of them is to help them calculate the impervious surface, and then one of them is how you develop that site plan. So if you haven't watched those, I would encourage you to check those out. They're really useful to kind of break down the different steps that when people are getting a permit, they need to do. One of the other things we have worked on is the nitrate clinics. So about 2 or 3 years ago, we took over kind of the nitrate screener tool that the county was using, and we have been hosting nitrate clinics where people can bring in their well sample and test it for nitrates, and then if needed, they can get a certified lab test. And that's been very successful. We hosted 3 of those, as well as we hosted a septic training for landowners of how to maintain your septic system. That was also very successful. And then been working with Crow Wing Highway Department, Tim Bray, in the city of Cross Lake on the CASA 66-3 interchange, more on the related to the stormwater management. And so we've been working with them on the design, as well as trying to bring dollars to help pay for the stormwater management. And so we earmarked some of our money, and then we were able to request additional dollars. And I believe it was around $300,000 that we'll be giving to that project, which should be starting any day. And other thing is we have been working with the county and the other partners to support these basically newer watershed plans, which is the One Watershed, One Plan. So we've been working in the RUM, the Mississippi Brainerd, the Pine River Watershed, and also in the Crow Wing. So we've been taking a lead role, trying to support those efforts. And I think that's all. I just want to say thank you. We know we can't do this work alone, and that we need, all partners and landowners to be a part of the team, and we appreciate the support we get from the county, as well as the partnership with Gary and his team.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So Melissa, well, first of all, thanks to Joanne and thanks to the board for their work. And just a question that you was talking about salt. Has there ever been any research or any information of the effects of calcium chloride? Because down in my district, with the help of the county engineer, Tim Bray, a lot of the citizens, they did not, a couple of years ago, they did not want calcium chloride. One lady was saying that when she'd bring her horse out to the road, the horse didn't even want to go on the road. And it's just bad stuff. And I'm just wondering if there's any research or anything about the effects of that, because there's a lot of lowlands, that are alongside dirt roads that, if how bad this calcium chloride is. And when I go down these, it's been a couple of years now, when I go down these county dirt roads, I can still see splotches here and there of the residual part of that's left from calcium chloride. So do you guys have any information?
I do. I mean, I can definitely talk to you at a different time too. One of the things I would say, I know more about the lakes than the effects to the animals. So in the metro area specifically, they have concentrations of chloride in their lakes that are so significant that it kills off the macroinvertebrates, the little fish and bugs that live on the bottom, and it changes the lake chemistry because the salts are heavier and they sink to the bottom, and so the lake doesn't function in a normal way. But it does have effect on animals. But yeah, I think Crow Wing County has done a great job of trying to train their staff and also do the best management practices. So far, the data that we have seen, at least in the lakes, the concentration is way below the standard. And, obviously road safety is really important. And so I think Crow Wing County does a really great job of balancing both of those, the environmental impacts and then also the safety piece.
So, Mr. Chair, so Melissa, if you ever run across anything that kind of gives an in-depth picture of calcium chloride. I wouldn't, if you could email it on to me, that would be helpful, because this summer, the township that I live in was going to put calcium chloride down, and the residents started calling me, which I don't have authority over the township. But ultimately, the township decided not to put calcium chloride on these. They sent out a flyer on whether or not people wanted it on the road, and it was 100% on every road they didn't want it. So, but anyway, if you ever see any stuff that might be interesting that I could read, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, thank you. One of the things that, if I remember right from going to the SALT, because I'm SALT certified, was that a lot of the other elements are, the nitrates, the phosphorus, those things are taken up by plants. But with chlorides, they stay there. They don't break down. They're a base. And can you speak to that?
Yep, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. Yes, that is correct. They're kind of like a forever chemical. They never go away. So they will go to, potentially in your case, maybe to a wetland or to a lake. If they're going a river, they may be pushed down the river, but they will stay there forever once we put it on there.
Yeah, that was one of the things I think that made chloride a big push on trying to minimize the use of it. So.
That is correct.
Yep. Anything else from any board?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to pipe in and thank Melissa, you and your team for the assistance in the One Watershed, One plans that have been implemented now across the county, and soon the Crow Wing one will be in there also. But you guys have done a wonderful job of walking us through that process, and I appreciate that very much.
I will say one thing. I sit on the Natural Resource Committee for AMC, and when we talk about the soil and water districts of the different counties, in a lot of them that I see, that's all talking about agricultural, the ditching and the agricultural. Up here, it is a lot more involving the lakes, because that's what we have so much of, and what you do there with getting that storm water to be mediated and stuff has been excellent. And what I've learned just by being on the 2 watershed plans that I'm on, I've learned an unbelievable amount of stuff of how it isn't just the lake, it's the water, and how we protect that water that comes in the lake. So I want to thank you for that, and I really enjoy sharing that and sharing my time with Joanne on the One Watershed, One plan for Crow Wing. So do you have anything to add?
Not much, really. Melissa has done a great job, but thank you for allowing us to be here. I would say, I know in the past, some of you have been on the tours that we've done. The tour is usually an all-day event. You get to see firsthand some of the projects that we've worked on and have insight as to why they've been important to do. We're looking ahead to planning another tour, and we hope when the invitation comes out that you're able to work it into your schedule, because we really appreciate your input and your support. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Land Services?
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We have 4 items for you this morning. I will handle the first one, and then Tom will cover the remaining 3. So if we could go to the packet, Therese, and
Your email or the packet?
go to the packet and just go to some of the maps at first, I think, so we can start with that. Then we'll probably switch to there. Let's go back to the colored map. There we go. So what we have before you today is a request to update our land use map for a piece of property here north of Peace Road and then south of County Road 77. It's in first assessment. It's right next, adjacent to these Baxter properties. The ones that don't have any colors on them are the Baxter properties. And so this is right adjacent to it. And so the request today is that this is Green Day roll-off, and this is where they have the roll-off services here. Let's see, if we go to that next one down, Teresa, I think would be helpful maybe. Is there another map after this? There we go. And so right now, the landowner there's, originally there were 3 properties. There were this property, this one, and then the one here to the south, the old Bisted farm. And the request today that you have is to, basically, this is currently a zone commercial light industrial, and to extend that down to this north property line here on this parcel. And then the request then is for the remaining parcel here and this to be considered to be commercial 2 zoning. And so the planning commission had our meeting back in June, and they made a recommendation to the county board to look at and to adopt the amendment here to the land use map as you see. And then subsequent to that meeting with the planning commission, we did have some contact with the city of Baxter. And Baxter has concerns about this part of this being commercial 2 and the access to Peace Road, since Peace Road is a shared road between the county and Baxter, and they're concerned about high truck traffic coming down here to potentially access the property to the south for these types of commercial uses, and so that we received that from the city on July 2nd. And so there were those concerns there. And then after the meeting too, I also met with some concerned landowners that are down off of Peace Road, and concerns that they had at that point were that they would like to have seen this maintained across here to be maintained in that residential zoning and not be converted to commercial 2 here and on this parcel as well. And so I've had some conversations with the landowner, Donnie Berg. He couldn't be here unfortunately because he had some medical issues that he had to run to, but if Teresa, so he's agreed to some modifications to his request based on what you on the map that I gave to Teresa. If we could look at that updated one that Maggie put together.
The Baxter zoning map,
No, how about the one that's got the?
one of these?
Yep, let's look at the Luma County Board on the bottom left. Yep. And so if we could rotate that to the.
Working on it.
Upside down?
There we go. Now we know.
There.
So what after talking with Donnie yesterday about it, what he's willing and interested in doing is still extending this light industrial down to here, and then taking this line here and extending it to the west, and then having this area here that you see kind of that shaded, that would be our shoreline district, because we have red sand is over in this area, and the remainder of that parcel being our 2.5. And so him and I we chatted about that yesterday, and he is in support of moving to that. And so Teresa, if you would open up the finding of fact that I put together. Isn't it was
Sorry, here you go. You wanna?
the draft summary findings. And so if we scroll down, we can go down to, right there where the findings of fact are. So this was the findings of fact that were put together for the Planning Commission meeting back in June. The areas that are here in yellow are what I've updated to that based on this new information after having talked with Donnie and the neighbors. And so we also pulled a piece out of the comp plan that talked about where we want to see industrial and commercial type development. And so that's from the current comprehensive plan now. Added a finding number 2 to state that the properties adjacent to the city of Baxter are zoned commercial, industrial, and residential staging is what it's referred to. And then the third bullet point saying that if we can maintain the residential 2.5 and shoreline along Peace Road, allowing the land north of that to be commercial 2 and light industrial, provides a buffer to those residential properties to the south. And so the rest of it going down is just basically using that same comment before to answer some of the different questions, because it really gets at what the intent of this would be. We did delete the section there about comprehensive plan, because that should have been up in the first question where I talked about comprehensive plan. And then there is an updated motion there with the 3 bullet points below that summarizing what would be the new motion based on what I've presented to you today. And so based on the information that was in the packet, based on the conversations I've had with Donnie Berg and his interest in modifying his request, and based on the findings of fact as presented with the maps, I would recommend approval of the land use map amendment as amended in the packet, that information I had provided to Teresa yesterday. All right, well, this morning technically, I suppose, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I understand what's taking place here, and we have Mr. Berg's word on this.
Yep.
Commissioner Franzine knows him personally, and I think in one of the letters I read from one of the residents, that he is a person who seems to be willing to work with them. My concern gets to the point of a legal binding agreement on how that stretch is zoned. And so I would like to hear from these landowners, these residents, about their feelings about what's being proposed now
Sure.
for our approval.
Please, if you'd like to, come up to the mic, state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Frank Bennett. I live on 6036 Peace Road. First of all, thanks for the effort, thanks for the consideration, and what Chris is outlining, we think is what we were pursuing. The concern was the commercial traffic down Peace Road, and then commercial business right up to Peace Road. And when Donnie Berg came to our house just to convey to us what his intentions were, he was real receptive. We had a nice visit. He told us all along that he's plans on building a home on the old Bisted property. And then after all that equipment was moved off of the property, he planned on making everything on Peace Road residential. And so we asked at that particular time, well, why don't you make it residential to start with? And he just said because of all the work he had done by WIDSEF, it might be problematic, and he may do it down the road, basically. But anyway, his plan was to leave everything right up to Peace Road residential, including, potentially building a berm to maybe hide some of the commercial stuff from Peace Road. But I think what Chris has got outlined, I think we all would agree with. I would just like to see a finished product, a finished map, outline everything that he said. And I'm assuming maybe we'll get that in the future.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the map that I showed earlier is the map of what's being proposed, that map right there. That's what's being proposed as part of this amendment. So you can see across here, this is if I can get just show up, there we go. This is the north line of the Bisted property. That extends all the way to the west. Everything south of that is going to be shown residential here. R2.5, the remaining piece to the east. And then this would be commercial 2 to the north up to 77, and then this would be the commercial light industrial. So this is the map of how it would look on our land use map if this were to be approved by the county board today.
Chris, how do you delineate that on the map? How do you because the property ID will still be that 9936058. Do you just say so far down and then you draw a line, or how do you do that?
It's important to remember that land use map districts are not isolated by one per parcel. So we have many overlapping zoning districts on different parcels across the county. It's very common.
Okay,
And
so that's common.
So this doesn't require a survey. This doesn't require Mr. Berg to get any, to create a new lot here and along those lines. I've been working with our GIS specialist, Maggie, from the department, and she made this map for me. And so if this gets approved today by the county board, what you'll see on our zoning map would be what this is today. It's just taking this line, the northerly line of the former Bisted property, extending it all the way to this parcel over here. And so that's what will be updated to our land use map.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
we're doing two things then. We're rezoning the pink portion, and are we just leaving that bottom portion?
So you're doing two different things today. One is that this is going to be going from commercial, this is currently 2.5 acre zoning right here now. And so it'd be modifying that to commercial 2. And then the industrial zoning is about right here. This was formerly 2.5, and so it's just extending that industrial zoning down to the north side of the former Bisted property.
Okay, and that line that's drawn, everything below that down to Peace Road
Is residential.
the way it currently is.
Correct.
Which
Yep.
is
No change.
RR 2.5.
R2.5 and the shoreline zoning for red sand, correct. Yep.
And that's agreeable to the residents?
I believe it is. I don't know if somebody else wants to speak, go ahead, but I believe it is. I think it's what we were actually looking for. Again, we're not against Mr. Berg expanding his business, but we wanted to keep Peace Road residential.
Is there any question, Chris? You have a planning commission that looked over this and gave their recommendation. Do they have to relook at it and you're?
Mr. Chair, according, no, they make a recommendation to the county board, and you have the
then
ability
we-
to modify as you see
Okay,
fit.
okay. I just
Absolutely.
didn't want to step on their toes.
Nope, you can
'Cause I
modify
think
as you
do
see
a good
fit,
job.
absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I've been in contact with Donnie and with Chris, and we came up with this map. And I would like to make the motion to adopt this amended map.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second.
So just for clarity, it would be based on the updated findings and the
This
updated
one.
motion that presented this morning.
The one that was presented today, not the one in the packet.
Correct.
Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you. I'll let Tom take over from here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Good morning.
So I have 3 items here before you today, and we're going to talk about them all at once, if that's all right with you. So here today to talk about applying for some grants for our Milford Mine Memorial Project. We were here back in January talking about our Phase 4 of our trail expansion. If you remember, that's on the south side of Milford Lake, approximately 2.2 miles of new trails that we're looking at developing. So here on July 1st, some additional grant opportunities opened up through the IRRB. And so we're asking for some resolutions today to apply for those grant funds. And so I would stand for any questions that you may have.
Mr. Chair, if I might ask, Tom, I didn't see any dollar amount associated with these. Is there not one, or are you just asking for permission to go apply and then you'll come up with a number?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Barrows. So yeah, there are some limits to the grant funds at which we can apply to, and we're just going to apply to the limit that they allow. So for these 3, it's about $880,000 between the 3 of them, and I can parcels out if you'd like me to.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just was curious because there wasn't a dollar amount associated in our packet. Well, if we can get $800,000 out of the IRRB, I'll be more than happy. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, Commissioner Barrows, we've utilized these grants before quite a bit, and they have funded a lot of the work that's happened out of Milford since we started the Milford project, and they've been a good partner to work with.
Any other discussion from board?
Mr. Chair, so this is, I don't know that this has anything to do with this, but it's, I just want to tell you a quick story.
Is this,
Rosemary put back then.
Mr. Commissioner Corning, is this going to be a quick story, or are we going to?
This is a quick
We
story.
order lunch.
It's a quick story, and it's a good story. I was, this couple weekends ago, my neighbor, Mary Beth Grimsby, who, her maiden name was Barrett Pet Foods down here. She had her 70th birthday party, and so I was over there, got invited over there, and I don't know, somehow we were talking about different things at the county, and the Milford mine came up. So I got to try to get this straight. So Mary Beth's grandfather was one of the people that escaped the mine collapse.
Wow.
And Mary Beth's mother was 1 year old when that happened. And so her family has been up and saw what we've done there at the Milford mine, and I'm telling you what, they absolutely love it. So that's something really personal for the Milford mine.
It's an amazing park.
It is.
Thank you for the story, Paul.
Yeah.
Now, do you want these 3 separate motions because they're all IRRR grants?
There's 3 separate grant programs. We probably should do it 3 separate motions. What's your,
There's 3 different resolutions, but I
Right,
can use
so-
the same commissioner.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the IRRR Regional Trail Grant Program, Milford Mine Memorial Park. That's the first request.
Second.
motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
Okay, the next one is the IRRR Mineland Reclamation Grant Program. They're all the same, Milford Mine Memorial Park, the second one.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And the third one is for the IRRR Culture and Tourism Grant Program for the Milford Mine Memorial Park.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll get to work.
Gentlemen?
Nice job there. County engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I have 2 items for you today. Both of them include a normal process in the project development of a couple of our projects, and it's the authorization to start the right-of-way acquisition process. We have a couple reconstruction projects coming up. It's in the adopted plan that you passed in April, the 5-year highway improvement plan. The first one is for our next roundabout. We're going to have a few years off of building roundabouts, but in the last, what's that?
What? We're going to get a year off?
I think that's music to some people's ears around, but the next roundabout that we're proposing is also in Cross Lake. It's at the intersection of 336, 103, and that's by the Brenny Funeral Home up there, for those that are familiar. And that project was adopted in the latest plan. It's scheduled for 2028. We're a little bit ahead of schedule in getting this resolution from you to authorize us to start the right-of-way process. But as soon as the highway improvement plan was adopted, one of the adjacent landowners reached out and was inquiring, and there is a possibility that we have an opportunity over the next couple of years to work out a land acquisition, similar like we did at the intersection of 3 and 4 that's under construction right now. If you recall, we had several years in advance purchased a home and then purchased a bar there, which now is an integral part of the project site. So for this first one, we're a couple years in advance than we normally would, but we want to seize an opportunity with a property owner who's reached out, is making some inquiries. So the first resolution I have for you for consideration is to authorize the County Highway Department to start to acquire right-of-way at the intersection of 336 and 103 in Cross Lake, and that includes all the way up through eminent domain. We use that sparingly and don't need to. Thankfully, we have been really successful in negotiating and working with the property owners. But it is a formality that must be done. We must have authorization from you to enter into these acquisition processes.
And this right-of-way is in our 5-year plan?
It was adopted in the most recent one, the 24 to 28 plan that you all adopted in April of this year.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So this intersection, before I got on the county board, I had a contract with the county and I did all the medical examiner transports, and there has been a fatality, at least one that I know of, that I transported at that intersection right there.
That is correct.
So it's kind of unsafe. So I think this is a good thing. Love or hate the roundabouts, I think it slows people down. I have talked to several people about the one at Beaver Dam and Wise Road, and the people that live up there have told me that he says, yeah, I don't necessarily like roundabouts, but it slowed everybody down when they're coming around that corner and on 2 wheels, so I think this is a good thing. I think the highway department continues to look at safety for the public, and I think that's a good thing.
Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions, I would make the motion to approve the attached resolution for the right-of-way acquisition for SAP blah, blah, blah. You want me to read that?
Well, you should. Blah, blah, blah is not going to look good in the minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you very much. The second item is very similar, but this is a project that is scheduled for 2026. This is the reconstruction of Mapleton Road, or County Road 170, on the south side of Baxter. You adopted this in the Highway Improvement Plan a couple years ago, so we've been actively working on it and are getting to the point where we've identified what we'll need for right-of-way and want to engage in the right-of-way acquisition process that is also required for this project. That project runs from Mountain Ash all the way to the Cass County line. Cass County has agreed to do their portion. Once you get to the county line, I'm not sure how far it is, maybe a quarter mile or half mile before you get to Camp Jim Road, their county road, or CSAH 36, that goes towards the Gull River, that loop there. They will design their own portion and do their own right-of-way acquisition. So this is not covering that, of course. And really, I guess that's 2026 construction, total reconstruct of the roadway. So we're going to be regrading wider shoulders, ditches, and things like that. So this is, like I said, the similar resolution to the one previously, authorizing the Highway Department to start the right-of-way acquisition process so we can ensure the on-time delivery of this project in 2026.
Mr. Chair, if I might, Tim, what, are we doing a 66 or a 100-foot right-of-way?
I believe it's 100. That is our standard. Our standard is 100 feet, and we're going to continue to do that. That's the best for drainage. I know that the Baxter is developing a park down there. We're going to see some traffic, and we want to make sure that we're building the roads to our standard, which are 100 feet. Every road we've reconstructed over the last, I don't know, as long as I've been here, has been 100 feet, and that's our standard.
That's good news. And then across that wetland, that'll be a culvert approach there?
We're still looking at that, the size of what that is required. You know, another thing I just want to point out, the 100-foot corridor in this particular case is important to accommodate the potential for some trails. I know that is a recreational area that Baxter is planning down there, and I believe they even have some master planning with trails in those areas. So it is imperative in this one that it's at least 100 feet to accommodate wider shoulders and get the proper ditching and drainage, but also the possibility of maybe a separated trail in those areas.
I just got the news yesterday that $5 million has been received for that trail build out there between Sylvan Township and the city of Baxter. So that will be moving forward at some point. So.
Yes, and the city of Baxter is one of our partners. We're collaborating with them. Just, we were talking about Peace Road, and I was happy to hear that we're reaching out to our partners around us to find out what their thoughts are about it. And we're doing the same at the Highway Department when they're developing these road projects to accommodate their transportation needs, of course. It's a county road, but it's in the city of Baxter.
With that, if there's no other questions, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the attached resolution for right-of-way acquisition for CP 18-170-03, County Road 170.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
I'm going to get it right one of these days. Okay, County Sheriff. As you're hobbling up there.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Today I've asked our emergency manager to stop by and give you a brief update on the storms that occurred in June. So, Clayton?
Welcome.
Greetings, Mr.
Morning,
Chair,
Clayton.
Commissioners. Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of give you an update as far as where we currently stand. I've been, again, advising our county administrator kind of as things progressed, but being able to stand up here in front of you and kind of give you a kind of a 1-2 as far as where we're currently at. I was hoping to be here at the last board meeting, but was unfortunately down in the Metro at a training down there. So currently we had the state come up on July 2nd. One of their state reconstruction coordinators and their team came up, recovery coordinators and their team came up and did an assessment, sat down with the townships and our cooperatives, and basically the total that had come up with was put up my number here, $606,000 in damages. Majority of that was through Crow Wing Co-op, which was about $225,000. So because the the threshold for us for the state is $152,000. The federal threshold is $300,000, but because the disaster itself mainly impacted Crow Wing County and a slight portion of Aiken County, we don't meet the federal threshold as a state to apply for the state threshold amounts. So I did the letter to Governor Walz's office for the state disaster assistance. That was sent out, and now we're just waiting to get that approval, and once that gets approved, then we can, again, hopefully get that 75% reimbursement to our townships and our cooperatives. And then continue to work with the residents as well. I know one of the questions that brought up as far as debris removal, talking with Craig from Ideal Township, and sounds like they've been able to handle the debris that they've had out there. Again, majority of it's all been the storm, or the debris from the trees, not so much as far as construction material, but tree debris, and they've been able to handle that. Same with our county dump as well. So, any specific questions you have for me?
I just have a comment because I talked to Ideal. I've also talked to the fire chief up there, and they're very, very happy with how Crow Wing County responded on that emergency, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
Nope. Again, I had a wonderful team that worked with me throughout the disaster. I know going to Crosby, when the storm had initially come out, the Red Cross I'd called my phone as I'm driving to Crosby before the tornado even touched down, asking if they could, what kind of assistance they could provide. They had already got one assessment team that was en route, and then I requested a second just after kind of hearing the initial assessments as far as the damage. And across the board has been, again, a tremendous opportunity to work with all the organizations across the board. So it's been I think my expectations for myself were probably higher than most others, but again, I think we came together as a whole and did I think a phenomenal job as far as the initial response and now working to the recovery aspect.
Thank you. Anything else from the board?
Nope, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Clayton.
I'd like to add one other thing as well. Again, we have some other, exercise that we're going to be doing this fall with the airport. It's going to be a full-scale exercise. So I'll continue to working with the airport, planning that. And then also I'd reached out to FEMA's National Exercise branch to get approval or to get funding that they're going to help us coordinate next year's full-scale exercise in Breezy Point, which is going to be a severe wind exercise. So they reached out to me here this week to kind of start planning that aspect of it as well. So a lot of things in the hopper.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dan, did you have any questions for me?
Mr. Chair, I do have I don't know if it's a question, or it's just more of a comment, and I don't know exactly what you can do, but as I am in my district, I go out and about, and then I ask people a lot of questions. I think about that calcium chloride. A couple of years ago, I was driving down the dirt road real slow, and there's people walking, and I said, "What do you think of calcium chloride?" And they're like, "What?" Didn't even know what I was talking about, but I had a lot of questions. Okay, so last weekend, I was over in Garrison, and I stopped at the dollar store, if you know which one I mean, and I engaged the person working there, and I says, "Do you have a lot of theft here?" And she says, "Oh, my God." She says, "There's a good possibility that store is going to have to close. The theft is overwhelming, and they don't know what to do." And so, to me, that's very concerning because it's going to have a huge effect on my constituents that are 20 miles away from Brainerd when they can have that little dollar store. So I don't know what they can do. She told of a story where some guy came in and he was tweaking, I guess, and he ran into the end, maybe you were aware of this, ran into an end cap and he was bleeding, and then he apparently stuck himself in the leg with a knife, and she said it took 45 minutes for somebody to get there.
I do not recall or
Don't you
know
recall
that incident
Okay.
specifically. I do know that there is a high volume of shoplifting that takes place at their store. We've gone so far as to have officers literally park in their parking lot for given times of the day to try to alleviate some of that. I don't like to say it out loud, but it's given the environment of where it's going on and the traffic that comes through, the individuals that don't live in that area that frequent that store for
Yeah.
what it provides, and the lack of staffing. I know they have issues with staff, just like most of the stores in Garrison, and getting the proper staffing there to help them support security within their store. So you have one individual that's in charge of that entire store. And if you've been in that store, you know that it's got a lot of shelving space, but it also have a lot of places people can hide in the store. With one individual that runs the counter, it's a very difficult situation for them to be in. So I feel for their concerns in regards to that. Outside of putting a police officer inside their store 24/7, I don't know how I'm going to be able to alleviate that concern. We understand the concern. We get called there a lot. Those type of things that you just mentioned. It doesn't surprise me if that would have happened and we didn't get a call, or I'm not aware of it, because that kind of stuff does happen quite a bit at that store. Not specifically to that exact incident, but I know that some of the gas stations have struggled to try to deal with that. Most of it's been dealt with through security cameras and extra employees. The dollar store just hasn't had the ability to employ enough people to do that. And just like the Burger King and so forth down there, they have trouble getting employees in the Garrison area to fill those stores, and they close because of it. So
Exactly right, because I went from there over to the tiny little, which is a little locally owned grocery store, went over there, and there was about 7 people working there, and I struck up a conversation with one gal, and she says, and I told her what I had found over there, and she says, yeah, she says, I know they don't have enough help. She says, that's why we try to have a lot of people here, and they had 7 people, to try to kind of keep an eye on everybody moving around. And anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of that. I'm really concerned about that for my constituents' welfare, that they, to lose another business over there because of theft, it's a sad deal. And I don't know what's happened with this world. I mean, if nobody thinks they're going to have to answer for their stealing, when they leave this earth, I just don't get it. And another thing, down on Paradise Beach Road, Lower South Long Lake has a Facebook page, and I noticed that a gentleman, you probably don't want me to say his name, but he made everybody on Paradise Beach Road aware that a house that he was renting out, the people were gone to like a music fest, and somebody had either cut or tried to take the screen out. So it's kind of maybe an attempted break-in, and so I did contact him, and I said, did you call the sheriff's department? He said no. So just let you know that there's some stuff going on.
I appreciate that information. If you can get the word out to your constituents in that area, if they do have those type of things going on, don't hesitate to call us. It gives us patrol patterns. So if you let us know about those type of things that are going on, and they may not be break-ins, but it's enough to be significantly be aware of us to go down there and be in the area. We give out patterns for the officers to drive for based upon those type of complaints.
Yeah.
Individuals come in, burglaries, break-ins, damage to property. It at least gives us a direction where to put the deputies at a given date and time. And Crow Wing County is a large county. I have 5 officers working a night shift, and bidding them in the right place at the right time is difficult, so that type of intel really helps us. So just share that with them, and for all of you, if your constituents have something as simple as their screen got cut, but they didn't call it in, that's important to us.
Yeah.
So make sure they're calling that stuff in.
That's all I have for the sheriff's department. I just wanted to make the sheriff's department aware of that. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for the sheriff?
July 4th go okay for you?
Yeah, it was very busy.
Very busy.
Very busy. I just had a conversation with our dispatch crew, and believe it or not, the 3rd of July was busier than the 4th of July. And I give that because of the weather. It was a phenomenal day, and the amount of traffic, the amount of accidents, the amount of calls, the domestics was the height of the entire week was Wednesday, which was hard to believe, but I get it. The nice weather, everyone was out enjoying it, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
County Attorney? Do we have anything for the County Attorney? I see Steph's up there. Are you on mute, Steph?
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
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 Talk loud.
Yell at
I
us.
don't have anything, but if the board has any questions, I'm more than willing to,
Mr. Chair, I do have a question. And then if you can't answer it, Steph, that's okay. I guess I'm just curious about all this theft stuff. And I know I see on the news, like when I'm watching the news, all these gangs of people that come in and take stuff. And in a lot of places, there's like a $900 threshold, and they might steal $879 worth, so they're underneath the threshold. So I'm just wondering, what is the threshold here that somebody's stealing and we nab them and then they go to jail, or how does it work? I mean, if you don't know the answer, that's fine, but
So what I can tell you, there's thresholds for felonies and gross misdemeanors or misdemeanors. If somebody gets a ticket, whether it's for $5 that was stolen, or, we have somebody that steals over 1,000, our office will prosecute. It just depends on what reports we see and to make sure that we have evidence enough to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
okay. But it doesn't matter if it's $5 or $1,000, you guys are going to go after them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, they'll be charged. Jail time is something that is continually looked at and determined by the circumstances of the situation. I can't speak to every single case, but we will prosecute, and it'll go through the process.
Okay. Thank you. I guess that's the only question I had.
Okay.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you. County Administrator.
Mr. Chair, yesterday we had a senior management team meeting. One of the things that we discussed was budget amendments for the Personnel Committee, making sure that we are allowing enough time for our HR department and our finance department to review those budget amendment forms, make sure that the information is complete and accurate before it gets to you at the Personnel Committee level. So you might be seeing some changes in how those forms are coming to you. We talked a little bit about the deadlines to make sure everyone has time to review them before they get into the packet. So you can start to see some better improved, refined budget amendments when they get to you. Also, we talked about our holiday party. There's nothing like an 80-degree day to make you want to talk about holiday party in December. This year, it is our highway department's turn to host the countywide holiday party. So the baton has been passed, and they are starting their planning process for that as well. And then finally, we talked about our 2025 budget. The budget submittals were due at the end of June, and the finance team has begun their analysis of the budget. We still have some work to do to get to the target area that the board has set out. We see that there's probably about $6 million that we need to refine out of that budget proposal before it gets to you for your final review of that process. But the team has started to work through that. I can tell you there are no new positions that are being proposed in the 2025 budget. And we are still working through some of those staffing, additional compensation pieces that we had put in place from the 23 and 24 contracts that were approved. So this will be 2025 is the final year of that. We knew there was going to be some additional lift that was going to be required of that process. So we'll be working through that and you can expect to see something at your August Budget Committee meeting for that. That's all I have for you today, unless anyone has any questions of me.
As somebody would say, it sounds like crickets, so I guess there isn't any.
Crickets are good.
Crickets are good. Any other additional business?
No additional business.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chair, I'll be happy to make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Yes.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.